All right, everybody, welcome back. We're live here to recap UFC 282. But before we get into the fights and go on our little rants, check out this little commercial, and we'll be right back. Do you love breakdowns? Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the AllStar app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in description. All right, guys. Yeah, man. This show, Sasha, fuck, man. It started off as like one of the best fucking shows of the year, and ended up as one of the worst shows. It's nuts, man. It's nuts, like how this game fighting is just nuts, man. It's just so many variables, so many things going on, so many incompetent people
That's
in
the one.
places where they should be competent, right? But let's just jump into what you were talking about, before we got online, about your parlay, man. You had a fucking insane parlay and
Yeah.
the last two fights. Talk about,
Well,
just tell us the parlay.
yeah. All right. So the parlay was a seven legger. It started off with the Raul Rosas Jay Perrin. I took that under 2.5. I thought I didn't know how the fight was going to go, but I thought someone was going to get finished. Either maybe Jay would win by knockout or Raul would win by submission. And thankfully, it did go under the 2.5, and Raul got that finish pretty damn quick. That was impressive. Obviously, everyone saw, he's just been killing it from his contender series, and then obviously making his debut in the scene like that. Fucking fantastic performance. And then I was a little bit worried about this one too. Was Topuria going in against Bryce Mitchell? I took Topuria. I just thought he was better everywhere, but I have some people telling me how good Mitchell was, so I was a little bit worried. But thankfully, Topuria went out there and smashed, and then followed by Duplessis. I felt pretty confident in that pick, even though he was training at Bang Tao and all that. I know he doesn't have any ACLs, and if Duplessis wanted to take advantage, he had to go and grapple him, and that's what he did. And then obviously, I was really worried in the Ponzinibbio fight. Went with Pons. I thought he was gonna be able to get rid of him, 5 days notice. Credit to Moreno, he fought fucking amazing, like awesome fight. I was like, oh man, I just lost my parlay. But Ponzinibbio brought it on late and just finished, and I was very grateful. And then I was feeling pretty confident. I was like, okay, big favorites left. Paddy Pimblett, he didn't win that fight. Obviously, I had money on Pimblett. He's part of that parlay, but the judges blessed me with that one. And they gave it to Pimblett, but I didn't see how Pimblett won that fight personally. I think he got outstruck, and I think he got controlled against the cage significantly. But yeah, that's how I saw it. And then, of course, the main event, I took Ankalaev to round off this parlay. Originally, it was a $100 bet to pay out 2,500, but because it got turned into a fucking draw, I only got 1,800. So, still a good day, but fuck, that was not a draw. That was not a draw.
Okay, so before we get into that main event, so if you have a 7 leg parlay and one of the fights ends in a draw, you still get a payout. I didn't even know that. I don't know
Yeah,
much about betting, so.
they will remove because you can't bet a draw in fighting. It's not an option. So if it's a DQ or a draw, they will remove it from your parlay. Or if you just do a straight bet, you'll just get your money back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Basically you still hit on the six
Yeah.
fights then. So it was a
Yeah.
6 fight parlay rather than a 7 leg.
Originally, yeah, seven legger, and then because it was a seven legger, obviously my odds were higher, but because it became a draw, they removed that from the fold, and then that's what I got my total off the six.
You've been gambling for a while, right? How many years you've been gambling on fights?
I would say a little over a year. It's
Oh,
been like a full time thing. Actually, since my last fight in the UFC, I just kind of started doing it, and yeah, it's been something that I've been able to make a kind of a another income, another source of income. So yeah, especially on fights, especially on UFC, that's something that I've got a pretty good eye for. But I do other sports. I do all sports. I do football, basketball, World Cup.
mhm.
So I've been getting busy, getting active with it, and it's fun. I enjoy it. I love sports, so I'm always watching anyway. So if I can make some money while I watch, why not? You know?
For sure, man. We go back and forth, and I know people that know you, and they've told me that you're actually really good at picking parlays, and parlays are the hardest things to pick from my memory. But if you guys are into gambling, you guys are into the sports, World Cup, MMA, whatever, download the AllStar app in the descriptions. You guys can get all of that stuff, customize it and everything. Now the main event, Jan was doing a fucking good job, man. Like I was surprised, like how he was, how he was like handling the striking against Ankalaev, because I thought Ankalaev had the speed advantage and the power. They probably have the same amount of power, but the speed, what I mean, that's like the X factor, I thought, in this fight. And I thought Ankalaev would go in there and finish this fight in the first 2 rounds. This is what I thought in my mind. Like they were just gonna stand and bang it out. But Jan, man, he knew something about the calf kicks, man. Like, did you see that coming?
I didn't see it coming, but I just like the one thing I know about Jan is the dude's made of like steel. Like when he hits people, they just like fall apart. So when he starts to low, I mean, it's such a common theme now in fights. You're seeing so many fighters aim for the calf kick, and it changed fights completely. I mean, Adesanya and Pereira is a good example. Adesanya talked about it in detail how his perennial nerve got launched on by Pereira early on, and that changed the way that he moved. So obviously we saw that not only was he able to basically take out one leg, he took out 2 legs, which in my mind is like, oh, I'm watching that fight like, oh, it's over. Like it's about to be over. All we need to see now is a couple more kicks and Ankalaev is done. But the fact that he was able to still, I mean, like to me, I see the way that maybe the judges saw it. He got hit with leg kicks and he limped it off, but at the same time, he was still outstriking him and still putting pressure against the cage, especially in that 3rd round. I personally had him up 3-1 going into the 5th round. That's how I saw it. I mean, maybe I'm incorrect, but calf kicks, yeah, they hurt, but again, he was still able to put pressure forward, still land. I thought he was outlanding him striking wise as well. Those toe kicks to the body were just like super high number as well. But again, because I guess they factor in damage, so it makes a little bit more sense. But if anything, I had it 2-2 going into the 5th, and then that was like a 10-8 round. Like Jan literally did nothing that round, so it was just really, really hard for me to see how they could have, scored it a draw. And it was Sal D'Amato who, basically made it a draw. And then I think Mike Bell was the one who scored it for Jan. And I just didn't see how Jan won that fight. I think Ankalaev got screwed over. I don't know why. I don't know. I really don't. I wish we could talk and interview these judges and ask them how their brains were what the thought process was while they were watching the fight, so they can explain their decisions, because no one understands what the fuck they're doing. Like, and that's a problem. There needs to be some form of explanation that just the average fan can see. Oh, that's why they scored this way. Okay, I understand. Because I consider myself a veteran in the sport. I don't know what the fuck that was in both of those last 2 fights.
Fuck, man. Yeah. So let's go to the judges' scorecards, right? You got Sal D'Amato. He gives the first 3 rounds to Jan, and then the last 2 rounds to Ankalaev, and then gives Ankalaev a 10-8 in the 5th round, which makes it a draw, like you said. And then you go over to the next judge, Derek Clearly. He gives the first 2 rounds to Jan, the second 2 rounds to Ankalaev, and then the last round he gives to Ankalaev and gives him a 10-8 in that one, right? And then Mike Bell, he gives the first 3 rounds to Jan and then gives the last 2 rounds to Ankalaev, but he doesn't give him a 10-8 in the final round. He just gives him a 10-9. It's, I feel like there should be more 10-8s in judging. Like, let's look at the Darren Till and Dricus Duplessis fight. The first round, that was a 10-8 round, man. In my eyes, he took, I think when they popped up the statistics for the first round, like maybe with like a minute left, it was 60 strikes to 0. Like Duplessis landed 60 strikes to none. Like at the end, till he got on top, right, and landed a couple shots. But still, man, 60-0. Like, okay, he landed 5 shots or something at the end, 60-5, and he controlled that fight the whole time. You know what I mean? On the fence, on the ground, everything. It's pretty insane, man. The judging is just, it's crazy, because yesterday at Bellator, in the main event between what is it,
50,
Sabatella and yeah.
50-45. It made no sense at all. It was a
And
close
that's the
fight.
same judge. And that's the
Oh,
same judge that
really?
judged the Paddy fight. Yeah.
Oh
And
shit.
gave the fight to Paddy as well. Which is nuts. Like, why are they flying judges from Connecticut to Vegas? I don't understand. Like, why you don't have enough judges in Vegas? Like, what
That's what
is
I'm
he
saying,
like
you know,
the
it's
premier
just-
judge?
Look, I've looked into. I was like, look, how do I become a judge? Like, what if I want to become an MMA judge? How do I do it? Literally, bro, it's like a fixed circle that no one can get into. There's like a bunch of like fake websites that go nowhere. There's like a bunch of bullshit. It's all set up, bro. It's controlled by the commissions, and the commissions are controlled by whoever. We don't know who, but we know who. And they're not allowing anybody to get into that because they don't want that. They need to have control. There's probably a little fucking button in their pocket, and you know, if that buzzer goes off, they know that they got to go and go against what they're supposed to be doing. Like, I'm telling you, bro, it's all linked. There's too much money involved. Like, it's just, that's just how the world is, and unfortunately, like, it's just too obvious. These results are just too stupid for me. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, that's why they need to sit in front of a fucking screen and record themselves and explain how they can judge it like that. 50-45 on that Sabatella's thoughts card makes zero fucking sense. Literally zero. Literally.
It does. It makes zero sense. It's like, what? It's like an episode of Black Mirror or something like that. Like,
Yeah. It's like it's
it
opposite
just,
way. Like,
yeah.
just not follow anything with reality and just do the opposite. Like,
And now it's like, we need to investigate this guy, Doug Crosby. Like, what's he doing? Like, why are they flying him across the country to judge at 2 different shows? And he just made a questionable decision in the last event, right? Why would you put him in another event on an important fight,
bro, I
in a
know.
Komen event? Like,
The wrong people.
it's you know, your mind goes wild now, like with conspiracy, right? Because with the whole James Krause thing going on right now, right? There's a lot of attention
For
on
sure.
like
Yeah.
on fights, right? On judging, on coaches, on fighters, with the UFC banning the Did you, when you were with the UFC, right? Did they ban gambling when you were with the UFC? No, that was after you were gone, right? So so did you even know while you were with the UFC that there was some kind of like code of conduct for gambling? Did you know that? I guess it existed.
I mean, I guess like as long like I remember people always being like, yeah, like as long as you don't bet against yourself and as long like you can bet for yourself like to win, you know, as long as you don't throw fights, like there was never any like shady shit like that. Like I never ever sensed or anyone was like worried about that. Like everyone went out there to try to win from what I understood. But like having like to be able to disclose like information about injuries or like certain things like that, that's like different, you know. And like obviously in the circles that Krause is in, like he has a Discord, he has all kinds of stuff. So like if he's going to give out information about a fighter that he trains, like it's not necessarily match fixing, but it's like, okay, you're giving humongous piece of information that makes a big fucking difference, and then all of a sudden the lines start changing right before the fight. Like, yeah, like that's blatantly obvious. Like you can watch 30 for 30s all day long and they talk about all that match fixing in like college sports and basketball. Like people aren't stupid. Like it's pretty normal, you know. Like all of a sudden a bunch of money comes in for some reason. Obviously somebody knows something, so they're going to investigate. It's common sense. But the judging, like we can go back almost weekly, every single week. Doesn't matter which show, doesn't matter where in the country. There's just some retarded stuff going on, and no one's held accountable for it. They're just like, oh, okay. And then it's like, just goes on and happens again in the next fight. And it's the same fucking people. You know what I mean? Like, with no experience in MMA whatsoever. Like, their credentials do not correlate at all to being an MMA judge. In my opinion, every single MMA judge has to have experience in MMA. That's how I see it. And go bring foreigners, people from fucking Asia, people for like Like when you have international tournaments in sports, you have international referees. Should be the same fucking thing. Screw these commissions. Bring in like a regulatory body that has a program that if you want to become a judge, you got to study this, this, and that, go through these procedures, this, that, blah, 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 protocol, so that everybody knows what the fuck is going on. Because this is not integrity in the sport of martial arts. This is bullshit. That's what it is in reality. And martial arts is supposed to have integrity and it's supposed to be honorable and honest. And this is not at all honest or anything. Now it's literally clicks and buys and views. That's about it, you know. And that's why Jared Gordon. I hope he gets a bonus. I hope he gets his win money because he won that fight. I hope Ankalaev fucking gets something because that dude won that fight too. So you know, it was a shame because whatever it was, 12 fights or 11 fights that were just all finishes were fire. And then those last two decisions, just tarnished the whole card, in my opinion. That's all people are going to be talking about.
Yeah, the judging has been a topic for a while now, and there's there's nobody responsible for it. That's the fucking craziest part. Like nobody's responsible for, like, if you're making bad decisions and you see like an outrage happening in the community or in online or whatever, I mean, like as somebody in position of power in the commission, you should be watching for that. You should be studying like what is going on, what is the reaction to these judges, to these scorecards or whatever or whatnot, I mean, even for referees too, I mean, they don't really make too many mistakes, referees, right? They make mistakes, but that one is a little different position. With the judging, yes, like they need to have some kind of criteria of like how they got into that position. Like you said, it's like the Illuminati or something. Like you get in, you never can get, you don't have to get, there's nobody to kick you out. It's just like you're just there and they just put you in there, and it just doesn't matter what you know and what you don't know. You just go out there and you just fill in fucking scorecards and you go home and you get paid. It's like a guaranteed paycheck, basically a government job. And it's ruining careers. Like Ankalaev said after the fight, he's just like, man, I don't even know if I want to fight again. Like these dudes is like really considering, like he said it as well, right?
Through a fucking war, and like to come out and know that he won that fight, and then them telling him it's a draw. Like even Blachowicz is like, I didn't win that fight. Like, you know what I mean? It's not even up for debate. If the guy literally that you just fought is saying, nah, you won that fight. Like, come on now. Like that's just so suspect. Like if the guy literally just fought, like never in a million years would I think that if I was in a fight, regardless of how it went, would I think, fuck, like, I'm gonna keep it to myself. But he was literally like, no, like this, so it's just, it's a shame. It really is a shame. Like, the parlay took a hit, but like I just think, for just in general, like for all these athletes competing, that's the most important thing. Like people don't understand, like you show and you win. You want to go in with full fucking check, 2 checks. You want to leave with 2 checks. Everybody does. Nobody wants to come away with just the one. So especially as you want to be a champion, you want to have that belt wrapped around your waist. Like that dude's a beast. Like he put in work. So it's a shame. It's really just not. It's not a good look. It doesn't look good.
Yes.
And again, there's no one I can point to as an example of like, oh, I wish they could do this and emulate them because it's going so well. Because I see terrible decisions literally in every single promotion all over the world, and that's like literally that's a problem. So like people should start to realize, okay, well, if that's the case, then we need to start to regulate this properly. But that will never happen. Regulation never actually happens because people don't like it. Like they can't control the outcome, the people that matter. So there we are.
There's too many fingers in the pot. You
For
know what
sure.
I mean? And some fingers are longer and thicker than others, and those
They've
are the
been
ones
there
that
for a while, and they've been making their money for a while, and they control a lot of things. So it's like, okay, you start poking them, then a lot of things are going to be a problem. So
you start to investigate things, you start to figure it out, right? If you really want to look deeper into it and investigate it and see like who is in this position, who do they have connections to, like who are they friends with, I mean, even I'm not even going to say just in the commission, like just even in promotions, in organizations, like if you go deeper into it and see like who's having dinner with who during fight week, who's on vacation with who, what I mean? Like it goes deep, man. It goes deep. I don't want to get into too many conspiracy theories, but There's some, but you know what I mean? Like with this, if we just focus on the judging, these are two prime examples of what they need to do in the next year. But the UFC, they don't really care. They don't.
They don't. They hire, like, it's Nevada, it's the state athletic commission, whatever commission. Every commission is its own monster. That's the thing. Every state that they travel to it's a different monster. So you don't know what you're getting every time. Like when they fight in like overseas, you're getting different. It's always different. So it's like
the UFC commissions themselves overseas.
That's
so
true.
they just pretty much they're bringing Vegas to whatever country that they're at, or they're just getting somebody from inside that country to who they know, right? To referee or to judge or whatever. But if you look at the stats, man, Ankalaev total strikes 182 to 79 for Jan. Significant strikes 79 to 58. Head strikes 50 to 25. Body 20 to 11. And Jan basically just won the leg kick battle, right? Yeah. And he did a good job with it, but still. And then the control time, it was like 11 minutes, more than 11 minutes for Ankalaev, and 2 takedowns. And those takedowns were fucking like so important for him, because he kept them down. That's what was insane.
They were the fight-winning takedowns. If that didn't happen, then Jan wins. But that was not the case. So, yeah, there was just no way, especially with the 10-8 in the last round. Like, it just, yeah.
Paddy, man. Paddy, they gifted him. It was Christmas, man, for him. Like, they gave him that decision. Gordon, you could have argued that he won all 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Like, and then you could have argued, some people argued Paddy won the 2nd round, and some people argued Paddy even won the 3rd round. And I could see, like, maybe second, or you could argue, man. You could argue, but arguing doesn't mean that you won it. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch it, Gordon won. He got screwed,
look at the
dude.
Statistics, man. I mean, look, control time, damage, all those things. That left hook was landing on Paddy at will. To be honest, Paddy didn't really land anything that significant. It was a lot of block shots, missed shots. His striking looked awful. He couldn't really wrestle against Jared. Jared was the better grappler, much smaller as well. You can see physically how much smaller. I mean, this was going to happen. I just didn't think it was going to happen to this opponent. But it just shows you, the hype isn't that real.
Even like Paddy's in this position with the UFC that no other fighter has ever been in. Not even Conor, because Conor skills was there. Like, if he would have went into a co-main event and he fought somebody that was the level of Gordon, I think Conor would. Featherweight or lightweight, he would spark him, right? Like, let's just be real with it. Like, Conor would.
Like, Conor is actually good. Like, you go into a fight and you wouldn't think, like, there wouldn't be any doubt in your mind. Well, with this Pimblett, you're like, is he actually? We don't even really,
They need to rewind it back, and he's popular. That's without a doubt. They could put him in a co-main event just because the main event fell out. But the thing is, like, I don't think they should push him, dude. Like, they should keep Topuria away from him, like, any way they can. Topuria would just eat him alive. They just need to give him veterans, right, that he can build himself off of, right? Because if he continues winning, you know what I mean? He continues winning. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want.
Outside, you're going to be making money, regardless. So it's like, why not just continue doing that without having to take high risk fights? Like they like to rush certain people to the top quickly because then they keep their contract low. But look what O'Malley's been able to do. He was able to, run around a little bit and then build his, negotiate the new contracts, get some more money. Look at me, I got this following. I'm bringing this to the table. Negotiating tactic. Same thing with Paddy. He already had a big following off the bat, and then now he said it himself. He's ready to just take those easy fights. I mean, why wouldn't he? It's the way to do it. It'd be dumb otherwise. Like, for example, they got a massive deal taking Pereira. They got Pereira for cheap, and now he's the champ. How many contract negotiations have been done there? Surely not that many compared to someone like O'Malley. Whereas if he was the champ, he'd be making much more than Pereira, I bet. So, they're setting themselves up to make more money. Whereas if you rush yourself to fight for that title, your pay grade is much, much, much lower than those guys that have been hanging out beating up the the potato cans. So
Yeah, I guess Dana's doing the post fight interview, and Young Joe, he's saying that Dana is attacking Jared Gordon. So I guess he's talking shit about Jared Gordon. Why would you talk shit about him? Dana said, what did he say? Dana said he fell asleep after third round of main event.
what?
And what is it? Dana said Glover versus Hill in Brazil for the belt. What? For
That
real?
makes no sense.
Isn't he fighting he's fighting Anthony Smith, I believe. I think that fight's already happening. So
Jamal Hill,
Glover
right?
versus Hill in Brazil for the belt. Is that happening?
Who's
Is that
that
for real?
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of wild, but Glover, he's getting old, man. So like he doesn't have much left, right? He doesn't have many fights left. I think
Glover to Shara, huh? That's a weird fight. I feel
that is a weird fight, but who would you go with in that one? Like who would you pick in that one?
maybe Glover.
Yeah, cause Glover can withstand the barrage. Like
Just
he has a chin on him.
his wrestling and grappling is so good, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's just his hip top pressure. Like even
Yeah.
Ankalaev couldn't finish Blachowicz. But
Yeah.
when Glover got on him,
He got
it was
close.
like instant.
He
Yeah, he
got
did get
close
close.
to finishing
He
at
did
one
close.
point. I was like, damn, like fuck, like finish him.
Yeah, for real. Like get it over with. Man, the Ponzinibbio fight. Morono was looking so good, dude. Like
So good.
first round, second round,
I was so impressed
flying
with
across the
him,
cage.
to be honest with you. Like he doesn't get enough. He actually shout out to him. Like when I made my UFC debut, like he like said some nice things about me on Twitter. So and even before I fought in UFC, I've always liked watching Morono fight. He's like got a Taekwondo black belt, BJJ black belt. He's a smart guy. Like he knows how to fight. And I didn't really give him any chances in this one. I just thought, 5 days notice coming off the cut. I know he's training, but like, you know what I mean, coming straight in. But man, he fought real good. I like Morono. He's tough as hell. He throws some serious. He had Ponzinibbio hurt multiple times. But man, Ponzinibbio does hit hard, and I guess once you start to get tired, and then it starts to accumulate, he got it, landed, and he hit him so hard he made his face like stuck.
Yeah,
That
like
was wild.
paralyzed.
Yeah, I never seen that shit before.
That was wild, dude. I thought his jaw was broken.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I thought too.
But then you
Like,
saw him after, and it was like he looked normal. But
yeah,
like when you have that power like that, you can't play around because he rocked Ponzinibbio like I think earlier in that round, and he kind of just like let him recover. He chased him around, but he didn't really attack him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was
And
like that one period where he was kind of running around for a little bit.
Yeah, it was man.
It was a
Yeah,
wild.
Ponzinibbio, man, he saved his ass on that one, man.
Yes,
Because
sir.
Morono was, I guess Morono, I like Morono a lot too, man. He's a cool dude. Like I've interviewed him a bunch of times, and he always has good fights, and he always steps up. You know what I mean, on short notice as well.
He likes the short notice fights. I mean, I'm also a fan of him too, especially when I'm like healthy and in camp. It's always nice to just go in and just without having to really think, you just go and do it.
Yeah. That's what he did, man.
Yeah. What did you think? Like, did you think that was a potential candidate for fight of the night? That one?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought that was the fight of the night. You know what I mean? They were banging it out. I thought even the Till Duplessis fight was pretty good because he weathered the storm. Second round, he was like riding him up on the feet, right?
Sure.
He was
that was wild, bro. Like I was so surprised. Like I was like, oh, he is gassed. I was like, Till about to finish him. And then third round, he came out and just I don't know why he didn't just try to take him out from the beginning, like take him down. Like he would have just smashed him on the ground, I feel like. I mean, he did get back up. I'll give Till credit. He was fighting back up to his feet. But in that first round, I was like, dude, stand up. Like he just was like chilling there. Like it was just 60 punches straight, like without doing anything. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, like the strike differential was pretty massive in that fight because
it reminded me of
so many times in the first round.
For sure.
And what do you do with Till, man? He's still young though. Like
29.
Till's not like it's not like he's 35 or 4 years old. You know what I mean? He's still young.
I agree. I think with Till, he needs to take like 2 years off. Like get his knees fixed, like take 2 years off, get strong, like rehab, like just get on a good strength and conditioning program, and then just like reset. Because like you said, he's young. He's 29 years old. Like he hasn't even hit his athletic prime yet. So I feel it's crazy. Like I've hung out with Till a bunch, and I always felt like he was like the older guy, but he's like 29. I'm older than him. So yeah, he just needs to like really heal up, and maybe like I feel like his lifestyle, like his lifestyle outside the cage, like his diet, the way like he lives that life needs to be like addressed. Like if he really wants to do this, like he needs to accept like that you need to be, eating clean all the time, being on point all the time so that you can just continue to get better. And I feel like he's the kind of guy that will, after a fight, blow up, and then it takes so long to get back into shape. And then by that time you're getting into the fight and you're already a step behind. So I think he got to just be true with himself and see where he's at. And in my opinion, he should just take some time off to just like let his body heal, because that's one thing with Till. He's been in a lot of wars. He's young, but he's been in he ever since his title fight with Woodley, he hasn't looked the same. So I just think some time off would be good for him. I think it would help his body, because that's what seems to be letting him down right now is his body. It's not his mind. He knows how to fight. So I feel like if he could get the surgeries done and take some time off, I think he could come back and maybe try to make another run. But yeah, at the moment, I think he's 1-5 in his last 6. It's definitely not a good look. So yeah, I've always liked to, but yeah, he's got to take some time, I think.
Well, he did his camp right at in
Bangtao.
Phuket, right? He was all over the place. Like he was at Bangtao, he was at Tiger, he was at a couple other spots as well. He needs to get some organization. That's what he needs, I think. He needs to get, because it looked like his coach, his original coach, is not with him anymore because he wasn't in his corner. It didn't look like.
Oh, really?
The Calbon team, right? Yeah. They're not with him anymore. So he needs to go find somebody that he trusts. And yeah, he needs to stop cutting weight like he did. He was cutting weight by running. That was like, why are you doing that? Like that didn't make any sense.
I saw Jordy's video. I was like, fuck, he's an idiot. I was like, how long has this dude been a professional fighter? And he's like, literally what Jordy said was literally like what was going through my head is like, you don't want any stress on your body while you're cutting weight. Like, why are you running? Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather you hit pads than run. It's like completely unnecessary, especially you have no ACLs. Why the fuck are you running? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going into a cage and running. You're going into a cage and throwing strikes. So it's like, I don't know. That's just, I found that really silly from Till. And Jordy has a good point, because other fighters are going to look at Till and be like, oh, he does that, then I'm going to do that. And that's just going to end up screwing them over. So that was a good video from Jordy. Shout out to him. I definitely, I saw that and I watched it. And I was like, yeah, good. Fucking sick of misinformation, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation still out there. Until, he's still young, I think that he needs to step away for a little bit, not even be in the public eye. You know what I mean? Don't even talk about, don't even be doing like interviews unless you want to do interviews, but not even talk about your next fight. Just, do whatever you want to do. Step away, because he's still in a good position, even though he's lost a lot of fights. The UFC still likes him. You know what I mean? They're going to keep him around because he's part of the UK movement, right? Like the UK movement is important for the UFC. Like they're going to London in March, right? And they have Paddy as well. You know what I mean? They have a bunch of like stars, right? Leon's the champ. So Aspinall, yeah. So like he's in a good position no matter what. So he could step away, tell the UFC like, yo, I'm retired. Because if you're still under contract, like you could do that nowadays, right? You'd be like, yo, I'm retired. Like,
you saw how TJ did that. You know what he's going to be doing during retirement.
Yeah. Now you got that whole thing now where you can retire and step away, but you're still under contract. So when you want to come back, they're like, oh, you want to fight now? Okay, let's get you some fights. So get out the rotation, right? Get out the rotation of fight offers. Step away.
Yeah, get out of your solid testing, get nice and saucy, healed up, and then jump back in the testing pool when you're not on the sauce no more. And then there you go. That's why McGregor been stuck on a boat for the past year, or filming movies in the middle of nowhere, because he's like, oh, sorry, I'm not here. You can't find me here. So look at the size of him. You telling me that dude didn't take all the fucking peptides and all the things to heal up his broken leg? Like, let's be real.
There's a
Dude's got
lot of stuff out there for him. There's a lot of stuff out there for people. Normal people might not know, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there right now that doctors, like scientists, are creating, right? That can't be detected and that are like
sure.
really healthy. Like you don't, there's
Yeah,
no like side effects. Like like there's certain things nowadays that 10, 15 years ago you took massive side effects. Nowadays there's stuff that fuck, dude. Side effects are very minimal, and
yeah,
man, I
bro. They
might get on that shit. You know what I mean?
look
Like,
at Holocaust has got the secret juice, and even USADA's asking him about that. So it's like, trust me, man. Like so the doctors that are like trying to find out and test people and find people that are cheating. Well, they've also got doctors that are literally creating things to pass those tests. So like, whenever there's anything being tested for, there's always an advancement. There's always something coming out, the newest tech, because as with everything that's new and improved, there's more money behind it and people want it. So that's what you're gonna get. But what can you do?
Duplessis, man, like he's on a rocket ship, dude. He knocked off Tavares that last fight with a crazy fight. This one's a crazy fight. He's becoming one of those like action-packed dudes, right? And his style is
For
pretty
sure.
funky because
Yeah,
he
it is
looks like
very.
he's tired,
Yeah,
but he's
he
not
said that.
tired.
Yeah, he said that. He said, "Oh, if I'm looking like I'm having trouble breathing out of my mouth, it's because I have trouble breathing in through my nose." He's like, "I'm not tired." And someone I was with watching the fights, they're like, "Oh, he looks super tired." I was like, "Yes, but he did say,
Yeah.
he breathes out of his mouth." So I was like, "Hopefully he's good." And he ended up being fine, And I watched. I know I'm skipping, but I watched the first fight. Cameron Simon, his
Yeah.
teammate, the other South African, and after watching, he's like the protege of Dricus. They're very similar in terms of like just being super strong, very athletic, cardio for days. And I was so impressed with Simon, and I just kind of thought that was going to be what we were going to get with Dricus, just physically, just on another level compared to Darren Till. Just being able to push that pace, being physically stronger, and just being just a bigger, more athletic looking guy in there. And I saw that in Simon, and I also saw that obviously with Dricus. And those two South African guys are definitely guys to look out for. I think both of them are very impressive and like you said, awkward, especially with Dricus Duplessis. Very different kind of striking style. When I watch him strike, it actually makes me cringe. I think it's very ugly. His striking, he has lots of holes in his striking, but it works. And whatever it does, he's fought very high level opponents. He's fought all over the world. Dude's got a ton of experience, and he just broken in and out to the top 10. So I definitely think there's some good fights for him there. I could see some things being made for him quite soon, if that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, because international fighters, it all depends on like what country you're from. You do get a little bit of more push just because, what I mean, the region you're from or whatever. There could be some deals going on. What I mean, there should be money on the table, whatever. But Dricus look like they're gonna try to push him. Someone, Well Rider 3001, he said, who's he beating in top 5? Laugh out loud. He could probably beat Strickland, but
Yeah,
not any of these elite fighters.
yes,
I'd like to see that fight, even though Strickland's fighting next weekend.
yeah.
That's a good fight, right? But I think he should fight Marvin. I think Marvin's in a position
Corey,
where he might
yeah.
have to fight
I
somebody.
think that's a good matchup too. I mean, I'm not saying I think Dricus wins that fight, but I think that's a good matchup. Um, you know, yeah, that those ones we could see how Cannonier and Strickland play out, and see something that matches up down
Yeah.
there.
He's
But
gonna
yeah,
fight one of those guys. He's gonna fight like the loser of Cannonier Strickland, or he's gonna fight Marvin. And I think Marvin's actually a better test because Marvin has a good gas tank as
title
well, and he
experience,
can do everything.
title experience. He's tough. He's like a bigger 185. I don't think Dricus can like push him around like he
Yeah.
did. So yeah, I think I definitely like the sounds of those fights. Both of them, both of those matchups are most likely probably going to happen, unless maybe a Kelvin Gastelum, maybe.
Yeah, he's also lined up too. I think he's fighting I'm off the
Oh,
French guy.
Imavov. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
also.
early January. So those,
That,
I think
those,
those fights right there is going to determine like who
yeah,
Duplessis
yeah.
fights next, most
People see
likely.
could fight the loser or winner of that potentially as
Yeah,
well. So there's definitely some options there. But I definitely think, as I'm not sure what the person who stated that, but I do think it's going to be tough for him once he gets to that, top
yeah,
echelon of the 185 division. I think he will improve, I'm sure. But I just feel like his striking just, yeah, he's got tons of holes in his striking, I think.
It's unique, man. It's effective,
It is.
But Darren too, I think it kind of exposed some things, right? When he would come in with this, he was stepping with the elbow and stuff like that. He was landing the left hand really well as well. Bryce Mitchell,
Oh, yeah.
Tapora is an animal, man. I think he's probably next year he's going to be a top 5 fighter.
He
Like
looked
he
great.
can do everything.
He can do everything. Very high level striking, very high level grappling, strong, tough. He's got the making to be tapping on that door, top 5 very soon. I think he's a problem for a lot of fighters at 145. He almost has kind of like a similar build to Volk in a way. He's short, he's stocky, he's very muscular, powerful, he's fast. So I think he asked for Ortega right after the fight. He said T City. I think he said T City, and I like that fight.
Yeah,
I like that fight a lot. I don't know if they'll give it to him, but yeah, I was definitely very impressed with Topuria. I was kind of like nervous going in because I have a buddy who's got a friend who wrestles with Mitchell and says like he's freakishly strong, like out of this world strong. So to see like kind of how Topuria just like basically just bullied him, I was very impressed because Mitchell's got like he's like on another level in his own little world, but in terms of his ability to take people down and kind of control them, I thought, ooh, like maybe he could do that with Topuria, but nope, not even close.
yeah. Taporia went in there and manhandled him, man. It was he has like high level grappling, like powerful punches. He sometimes goes too wild though. Like he does get wild a little bit, and I think higher level guys would be able to take advantage of that. I would have loved to see him fight if Jose Aldo would have stayed at featherweight and he's not retired, that would have been a great fight. You know what I mean? Because I think even if Jose Aldo would have stayed at featherweight, he would have been a top 10 guy still. He would have
Yeah,
still been a lot of guys. You know what I mean?
no, I agree. I mean, Jose Aldo is a beast. Like even still, unfortunately, that last fight with Marab, but
Yeah. Well, it's like he got to the point of like the Stephen Wonderboy point, right? Where it's like stylistically, you just need to put him in the right fights, and then he'll look good, right? And then he could
that's
beat a
true.
lot of the top guys because Wonderboy, same thing. If you put him against wrestlers or grapplers, they're just gonna wrestle and grapple him, and that's what they did to him. And then you put him against Holland, who will just stand there and strike with them. You see
Even
what
though
happens.
Holland's an idiot, and he could have
Yeah,
won that fight if he wanted to wrestle, but he honestly, thanks. I'm appreciative that he let us watch that fight. It was such a sick fight, and as a fan, I'm like, fuck yeah, like Kevin Holland's the man. But in terms of fight IQ and just going there and getting a win, like Holland, and 9 times out of 10, I think wins that fight. Uh, but I love Wonder Boy, man. That guy is my favorite fighter. I still just whenever you can watch him strike, it's just so beautiful to watch. And he's someone like he's definitely probably my favorite fighter in the UFC to watch. Ever since I was young, I remember his debut. I've always enjoyed watching him fight, and it was great to see him. To see him just perform and just put on a fucking show. He was styling, and it was just
yeah.
beautiful. You don't get to see that often, like
No.
to see like such a actually Natan Levy, he had a very beautiful fight too,
Yeah.
throwing a wide variety of beautiful techniques. Like that's what I mean, in my opinion, if I can see that like high level technique with like beautiful execution, like that's like the beauty of the sport that you want to see. It's like for me, in my point of view, it's easy to go in there and just throw like a brawler and just clip someone and put them to sleep. But if you're like putting on a technical masterclass, like it's not only one of the hardest things to do, but it's like one of the most beautiful things to watch. So guys that regularly do that will always like I'll always be like, hell yeah, I want to watch that shit.
The prelims, man, there was 7 fights, all finishes.
Yeah.
You had all knockouts, or actually 2 submissions. You had 2 submissions, and the rest were knockouts. You had the 18-year-old kid. I'm pretty sure you've seen him around at Syndicate in Vegas, because I heard about that kid before the Contender Series, and his brothers and all that from people
Yep.
at Syndicate. They were talking about that kid.
When I before I was in the UFC and I was teaching the kickboxing at Syndicate, I taught all three of them. They were in my class. They came to Syndicate. They were probably training at Syndicate for a year and a half, and literally just before the Contender Series, they left Syndicate and went to a different gym. But yeah, Raul is a absolute juggernaut on the ground. He's relentless. I've seen him. I'm not gonna say any names, but high level UFC numbered, ranked guys, and Raul's schooling them, and then a wide variety of UFC 135ers that he just run through. So I knew going into this fight, it could go a matter of two ways. And Jay is also a teammate of mine, also very well-rounded guy, but I thought he could definitely outstrike Raul. But in my experience, with Raul, teaching Raul, I knew that his striking was at a lower level than his grappling, but I also knew his grappling was at just such a high level. And if he was able to just be relentless, and it didn't take long, he was able to, secure the back pretty quickly and do what he does. And yeah, that parlay, I took the under 2.5. I thought someone would go to sleep or someone would go, go tap to a submission. So
Yeah.
it happened. And yeah, Raul's definitely. I felt him. I've trained with him. We've wrestled together. Obviously, I've got a weight advantage on him. So I got to feel what he feels like, and he's a very strong kid. Like he's very, very strong physically. He's got man strength at 18 for sure. I've seen him jump on the backs of 155ers and just ragdoll them and break them. So yeah, the kid's really legit, and should be treated as such. So going forward, you guys are going to see he's obviously going to be getting better, which is going to be a problem for everybody else, but he's already at such a high level. You can talk to Frank about him. Frank was working with them extensively, teaching them daily. So both of us would sit there and watch. So we definitely got a good eye for those guys coming up before they were in the UFC, and now you can see them performing.
Yeah,
good.
definitely interested. Everybody need to keep an eye on him. You got Rosenstrike getting the 23-second knockout, Shabazian getting a knockout in the second round, Chris Curtis getting a knockout in the second round, which looked beautiful. I loved how he handled that fight. He just waited for Buckley to just show everything, and then he came in and just perfectly executed a combo and just cooked him. You got Billy Q getting the knockouts, kind of in the same way. He not in the same way. He weathered the storm. He took some damage. Yeah. And Hernandez, man, everybody points to him as a guy he's like the first round, he's like top 5 in the world. But then when he gets any kind of adversity, falls apart.
He's too muscular. If he doesn't get you out early, he just starts to gas. His blood, the muscle in his blood, all the blood fills up in his muscles. It just seems like he can't hold his arms up, can't move the same. He looked great in the first round. I actually I put a little $100 on Hernandez because I thought, oh, he's strong. He's coming down from 55. He got big wins. He's fought some of the best. And Billy Q is just able to weather the storm. And that second round, he just couldn't hang with him, and Billy just put it on him. But I wanted to go back to the Rosenstruck Dawkins fight.
Yeah,
that betting line was criminal. Like, I don't know who anyone that knows MMA would have said, "Oh, I think Dawkins is going to win this fight." He's like, what is he, a police officer, and you're fighting against like a credentialed kickboxer, and you're coming off of how many knockouts in a row? Like, it was crazy that Rosenstruck was only like a minus 170 favorite, like insane to me. But yeah, no offense to the Dawkins brothers, but they gotta go. Like, I don't think they're on that level. Like, they come into trying to strike, and they don't got chins no more, and I never really rated them too high when I first saw him, especially the heavyweight one. Like, he just looks like, I don't know, just not like an athlete. He'd been eating too many donuts and drinking too much coffee. Like, that's what it just looked like. Don't look like a good look. No disrespect, but that's just what I saw, and I was like crazy. I was like, is there something I don't know? Because I'm pretty sure Rosenstruck is definitely gonna smash this fool. Like, within a round. Like that's just how I felt. And yeah, lo and behold, he did exactly that. Which I was happy to see a prediction.
The Dawkins brothers, they're the type of dudes that don't say no to fights. You know what I mean? So they'll like pretty much take a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whoever
both
it is, and
really
yeah,
short notice fights off of KOs, like without really
yeah.
resting. Yeah, like it's just not smart.
I think they should take a break and then reassess. You know what I mean? For especially for Chris, he's a heavyweight, so there's a longer leash for those
Yeah.
types of those types of fighters, heavyweights especially. And he's still top 15. You know what I mean? It's not like he's not ranked or anything like that. So
Oh,
I think they're gonna give
crazy.
him another fight. And yeah, because he came in and he got like 3 wins in a row with
Yeah.
knockouts. So it's like you win by the sword, you die by the sword type thing. You know what I mean? And now he's got to reset.
Him and Ty should go at it. So Ty can get
Yeah,
him.
yeah, that would be. I think that could possibly be something that they're looking at. You know what I mean? Him and Ty going at it,
Yeah.
or
They like
even him and Ty and Rosenstrike going at it as well. You know what I mean? Like that could be.
Don't give
But
Ty.
that
Don't give
but
Ty.
that could be something that they would look at. They would entertain it because they want Ty to go against strikers.
I
Like
want
you
Ty.
don't want.
We want Ty to win. We don't
We
want
want him to win, of course, but I'm just saying, like, that's the type of matchups that they want to give him because even the Sergey, like, Ty doesn't say no to fights either, right? And then Sergey was probably the biggest heavyweight on the roster,
Yeah.
probably, right? I think he's just as big as Ngannou or maybe even bigger. Like the guy looks like a
I've seen
fucking
him.
video game character.
He's a bear. He's a Siberian polar bear looking. He's
He's
just
insane,
massive
right?
white
So
dude. Like, and he's good, man. Like he's his sambo background is clearly like a huge advantage at heavyweight. Like he's just able to throw dudes around. That fight with him and the other grappler, high level grappler. What was his name? Is it the Moldovan dude? Is he Moldovan?
man,
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't even remember.
Oh no,
I
it was
have no.
Espina. It was Espina, right? The Spanish guy.
Okay,
Was it?
Espina. Yeah, Espina.
It was like
Yeah.
a skeptical fight. Was that them who fought? Oh no. Okay, I'm wrong. I know who I'm talking about. The Romanov. It was Romanov. So Romanov,
Okay. Yeah.
Espino, those three are like, in my opinion, like the highest level, like grapplers at heavyweight. Like it's out of the top 5. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those three,
Romanov is good.
yeah, Romanov and Spivak, like those two are like pretty damn like high level grapplers. Big. They have to like cut to make 265. So
Big
those are
boys.
real heavyweights. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I saw Romanov before the last fight. I think he was in Thailand, and I saw him like speeding past on his huge ass motorbike, just like laughing. I don't know what he was doing, but
Was he training in Bangtao or Tiger?
no, he was training at Tiger. But I
Oh.
saw him up north in the island for some reason. He was up here, and I just saw him drive by, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's Romanov." But yeah, you know what I mean? Over there, you just see people randomly, you don't even know they're there, and then you see them, you're like, "What the fuck?" You know what I mean? Shit happens like that. Yeah, so like you got Cameron. It's always good to like see guys that I interviewed win. Not just gonna lie, you know what I mean? Like Cameron Simon interviewed him, he won. TJ Brown interviewed him, he won. Billy Q won. Rosenstrike won. Who else? Who else did I interview? Drickus interviewed him, he won.
Nice.
And that's about it. But yeah, so it was pretty insane card, man. So like there's a lot of great fights. There's one more fight week left for the UFC next weekend. I think a lot of people probably might pass on it, but I'm
How
not
do you
gonna
mean?
pass on it. Some people
On
would just be like, oh, the
Hey.
Vegas shows, they want to pass on that nowadays.
I mean, it's not a bad card. Look, I already peeked at it. There's some really good fights on that card. And the one that I really like is Damir Ismagulov and Arman
of course.
Tsarian. That's gonna be a sick one. I've seen Arman here in Vegas. He's come by the gym a couple times. He's looking good. He's looking in shape. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Drew Dober and Bobby Green. That's a very interesting fight too. I like Cheyenne that Bills Massa against Corey McKenna. I think Cheyenne's gonna put on a clinic there. I like Jake Matthews against Semlisberger. That's a fight that I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight Semlisberger, Jake Matthews. And then this one actually is the one that really interests me, is that Saeed Nurmagomedov and Syed Yukub Kakramanov. That dude's with the one who
That,
trains with T-Rex.
yeah,
Uh,
he's good.
he's good, and I think that's going to be a banger, like low key,
Yeah.
like a super sick fight. Then
That's a
even
fight you don't want to bet on.
no, because it can
You
literally
don't want
go.
to.
Yeah. But Rafa Garcia and that Hayasayer Masashate guy, I think will also be a good scrap too. So there's definitely going to be, and then David Dvorak and Manel Cape. I really rate
Yeah,
Dvorak as well.
he's pretty
Uh,
good. Yeah.
yeah, there's Michael Ojejek against Cody Brundage. So there's definitely going to be some good fights. Like I don't know, and it's free. You don't got to pay for it, like pay per view.
No.
So people
Like
shut up.
even like Bobby Green at a plus 140. That's not a bad bet right there.
Not at all.
And
Not at
then
all.
Dorvac at plus 200. That's actually a
Right?
pretty good bet
That's
as
what
well.
I was surprised at, because I've been burned in the past by betting against Dvorak, and then when I watched that fight, I was like, damn, he's fucking good. So
Yeah, he can slow people down. That's the thing, is like, can he slow Cop down? Because Cop's so fast. Like, if he's able to slow him down, he could beat him. He could like grind him out. You know what I mean? Because
I think he
Dorvac could
can,
go.
man.
He could go to
I'm
the
not
ground.
I'm not that sold on Cobb. Like I'm not. I think he's good, but I think like he's good for like entry level, like for bantamweights. But when you start moving up the chain, I feel like he's got some holes, and I feel like guys like Dvorak, like he's really well rounded. I feel like he's strong everywhere. So yeah, and he seems to have a gas tank issue as well,
Mhm.
especially at 35. That's just something I've noticed. Is it 35 or 25? Those guys.
It's 25. They're
25.
both ranked at
Yeah.
25. Yeah, it's not a. I'm gonna watch the card. I'm gonna watch it from top to bottom. I always watch the cards from top to bottom. Usually watch.
Same here,
There's
bro.
there's a few promotions that I watch around the world. You know, most of the cards, if I can, is UFC, Bellator, One Championship, Ryzen, and I'm starting to watch a little bit more of the PFL. You know what I mean? As the
PFL,
years
I
go.
enjoy watching the PFL. I like this, like the live statistics. I like the cage metrics and stuff. I like those. I like seeing that. Like that's
Mhm.
cool. It's cool to have that. Yeah, and like recently with one, their stuff here on Amazon Prime, I've been watching, and it's like on prime time here, and fucking, they've been putting on some good
Yeah,
fights. One is
crazy
starting to really
fights.
step up. I love the Muay Thai and kickboxing fights, especially
Oh
with the
yeah, yeah.
small gloves. Even some of the grappling stuff, like even though that is like the shittier part of the cards, the more boring parts, and they are like making it one-sided to like super jiu-jitsu guys against like MMA guys, but it's still entertaining, and you're still seeing some. It's just different, and it's kind of cool. Um, and I've been impressed by it for sure. I've liked watching some of the One Championship. I watched this Bellator card on Friday. That should be investigated too. Bunch of lopsided
Yeah.
underdog and bets, all crazy, crazy, crazy stuff there. I was looking at it. I wasn't getting involved. I don't like getting involved with Bellator. It's real shady. Um, but like minus 900 losing, and then like minus 650 losing, and you're just like, what's going on here? But yeah, definitely, I'm the same, bro. I'm a big fan, and whenever I know that there's MMA on, I'm fucking watching it usually. So yeah.
All right. So before we get into talking about your upcoming fight, I wanted to talk a little bit about this whole James Krause situation. Since you're a guy that is into the gambling and into the betting on fights, and you're a fighter, and you've been around the world training all over all kinds of gyms. So have you probably been following this closely, like everybody else that's involved in the sport, and seeing like this all escalate, right? Like James Krause, they flag him, you know what I mean, because of the line movement on the Minner fights. You know, Minner is cut. James is suspended by the UFC. Now he's suspended by, I believe he's suspended by the commission as well, right? Can't, yeah, they said that he cannot, like, no fights, nobody that fights for him, nobody from his gym, they can fight in the UFC.
Yeah,
Yeah, like they banned all that. They put in all that into gambling, like on anybody that's involved with James Krause. They're
yep.
not accepting those
Is
get
like
bets anymore. Canada is like getting rid of UFC, right, from certain provinces from
yeah,
betting, and that's
Ottawa,
huge.
Alberta. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Now you saw like a couple days ago that James Krause is selling his ownership of the gym, Glory MMA,
Okay.
to one of the guys, I think one of the managers of Iridium, like one of the managers
Oh,
that are involved with Iridium.
probably what's his name, right?
I think his name is. Let me see. Let me look into this
Mark
this
Jason.
report. His name is. Let me see. Fuck, where's his name? Oh, Joe Wooster. He is he's the owner of Fighting Alliance Championship and an Iridium sports agent. So I
Oh,
guess James Krause, I guess the report that he's selling the ownership to that gym. Now, whenever all this stuff is happening, right?
yeah,
And I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt because nowadays in society, you are always guilty until proven innocent, right? Like if anything comes out, even if you're innocent, like people are thinking that you're guilty. Now,
for sure. Usually,
yeah, usually, right? But this whole situation now, like his Discord, it's deleted. His Instagram is deleted. His YouTube page is deleted. Um, Anything that has anything to do with gambling has been deleted from like online. I believe uh they confiscated some stuff from his home. I don't know. This is things that I've been hearing, right? That they're starting to investigate, right? And but now he's sold his ownership of his own gym that he built, dude, like from the ground up. That to me, that tells a lot. That
yeah,
tells us a lot. We can speculate a lot now. For
yeah.
you, what is your speculation? Like, what do you think is really happening right now with this whole investigation?
Um, I don't know. I just think now he made a mistake. He got caught, and now he's under the magnifying glass, and and they want to make an example. And usually, when they have one person, the first person, when it comes into a situation like this, they have to make an example. And regardless of whether or not they can prove if he's, guilty or innocent, it's not going to be possible to really prove unless we've got cold, red, hard, evidence, right? So, they're probably like people talking to him like in important positions, saying, "Look, this is what you got to do. If you're not doing this, then this is what's going to happen to you. And if you do this, you're not going to get into much trouble." So I feel like he's trying to make it that he's safe, that the people that are around him are safe, because there are a lot of people that relied on him or have relied on him, especially for his career, their careers as fighters. So obviously, it's not just him that he's got to look out for. He's got to look out for the people around him. And I think if he's being smart, he's seeing the effects that what he's done has brought on the community. So for him, he's the best way to do it is to show, look, I'm going to step away from everything, let you guys continue to be successful, continue to train, continue to be able to work, and hopefully still have opportunities in the UFC, because I have nothing to do with any of this, because it's bigger than him now, because he's affecting people's careers. Imagine, I mean, I don't know the number, but there's quite a few UFC fighters out of that gym. So for them to be literally, crossed off the list of not being able to perform in the UFC anymore, that's taking money out of their pockets, that's ending their career. So I think that's the right thing to do, but also what seems to be happening, because we're not hearing any evidence. We don't hear any breaking news of what they've caught him with, or what is it exactly that he's done. So I'm sure stuff will start to come out, and then we can talk more about that. But just from what I'm seeing now, this is what I think so far.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, maybe he is putting himself in a position where he can protect himself as well as protect everybody else around him, so he could mitigate the damage done or damage that could happen if he started to fight this situation. If he's guilty, I mean, if he's guilty, if they do have evidence. But the thing is about investigations, and and a lot of people know, even if you're not involved or never been involved with like criminal activity, if you just seen it on TV, you should know that they're pulling people in, they're interviewing people, they're interrogating people. There's got to be that going on right now, right? Especially if the police is involved and there's a huge like investigation going on, and like in trading, you got insider trading, and basically, if you're giving information to people about fighters or situations, and then that can manipulate like because books like sports books, they don't take that shit lightly. Like they're looking for people to fucking crack their heads, right? They're looking just like casinos are looking for people to cheat
Yeah,
because they want to make an example of somebody, right? So the
sure.
next person don't do it. And
Exactly.
and you know what? I would not be surprised if we see some other names pop up that we know and recognize in the sport
Mhm.
involved in this somehow, some way. And especially somebody snitching too. There's always going to be somebody snitching.
For sure.
Always going to be somebody giving up information. That's what
For
investigations are for, right?
sure.
And
Mhm.
that's why everybody's laser focused on this, man. Like, because we don't know who exactly is involved,
Yeah.
and it's gonna change some things, right? It's gonna change, like,
Oh,
I don't
how
know
it
what
works.
it's gonna change, but it's gonna change some things, man. Especially with gambling, because gambling is a big part of fighting, man. Like,
For sure.
it's a massive part. That's what it makes it popular in a lot of countries and a lot of places is the gambling. Like, if
For
there's
sure.
something on it, you want to watch it. Like, you want to be involved in it more. Like,
100%.
if in there's certain countries that don't allow gambling, and I think that affects the popularity of like the sport of fighting, especially like
Yeah.
with the UFC and whatever, you know what I mean? Like it does affect it. So with James Krause, man, I hope he did nothing wrong. I hope he didn't. But if you go back and watch that interview that he did with Errol Hawani, and he was fucking arrogant as fuck about like gambling and like gambling on his own fighters, and
Yeah.
it's just like I have a Discord and I make more money off gambling than I do off coaching, and take over people's accounts. And I ask people that gamble, and it says that's illegal. He told me
Oh,
like you
yeah.
can't go take over people's accounts and gamble for them.
Damn.
Like I was like, what, for real? Because I was like, I didn't know that. Like that's illegal. I was like,
Yeah.
why would
That's
he admit to that?
yeah. He didn't know. That's the thing. He also gave up a lot of evidence on his own. Like that was the problem. Like I was talking to multiple people, and I'm like, what an idiot. I'm like, it's one thing to like, say here every once in a while, oh yeah, I want to parlay here, cool, blah blah blah. But to literally set it up that way and to be public about it, and then be in a position that you are as a head coach for a big gym in the UFC, it's like the dumbest thing ever. Like it's one thing if I start a Discord and I'm like, okay, I'm a fighter, I train out of a gym in Vegas, but I have no affiliation whatsoever to, fighters all over the world competing, and it's different. They don't touch my gym, they don't have any affiliation to the fighters, I don't have any affiliation to the coaches. So in reality it's okay, right? But if I'm starting to corner these fighters, they start seeing me in the back, I'm you
Mhm.
know in their camps, and then all of a sudden I'm on my Discord, hey, so and so is injured, or so and so's got this deficiency, or so and so is good here. That's technically insider trading. You know what I mean? That's insider information that the public would know otherwise. So there's a very fine line, I'm sure, that is going to be created in succession to what we're seeing. Like this, there's going to be rules put in place where, look, if you're a UFC, because problem is the UFC is hiring independent contractors and aren't
Mhm.
employing people, so they can't necessarily say you can't do this. But at the same time, maybe they're going to have to revisit that and change the stipulations, because in reality, you can't stop an independent contractor from betting on themselves or betting UFC fights. But I'll tell you a story. It was this year's Super Bowl. I'd seen advertised for like DraftKings and all that shit, and I'd never tried it. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna download the app and sign up and try it. So I went on DraftKings, put in all of my information, social security, whatever, my name, and then it blocked my account. And then I was like, what the fuck? And it's like I found out the reason that they blocked my account was because I'm a professional athlete. So DraftKings does not let professional athletes to gamble. And I was going to gamble on the Super Bowl, which I obviously have no affiliation to whatsoever. So the fact that I'm a professional athlete on DraftKings cannot gamble on any other sport is pretty ridiculous. Um, but maybe that's what's going to happen. But still, doesn't stop us. It's like, oh, I'm a professional athlete, I can't gamble, so I go ask my sister to go place a bet. It makes
Exactly.
it makes really no
Mhm.
difference. So, um, Yeah, so it's just I don't know what they're gonna do. It's probably gonna be stupid, as it usually is in the beginning. But again, we're just waiting to see because as with like everything in life, this is gonna be a talking point. Oh, do you remember when it was like when betting was so easy? I remember when betting was so easy back in like 2016 when like Ronda Rousey fought Holly Holm and Nate Diaz fought McGregor, like shit like that. The betting lines were different. The people working those betting lines had no idea what the hell was going on in MMA.
Yeah.
But now they know what's going on. They hire people like us that follow MMA. They got people working there doing everything to make sure that they got the best lines, to protect their money. So at the end of the day, they want to win. They don't want us to win. So they're going to do everything in their power to make sure it advantages them. Um, that's just how it is.
There's no way, dude. There's no way that they can control that information from flowing. There's no way. It's you could catch people doing it, but there's no way because, like you said, you're in the back with a bunch of other fighters in one room, right? Getting ready to fight, and there are people warming up. You got coaches talking. You could hear people going. You know what I mean? And like I heard the story about one coach. He saw somebody in the back warming up, and he saw like something was wrong. So he right there on his phone, he placed a bet against that fighter.
Yeah,
That probably happened all the time. You know what
I
I mean?
bet.
Now it's a little bit different, but it probably happened all the time. You know what I mean? Like, what about this? This is a conspiracy theory you could go into. What if a manager manages two fighters and they're fighting each other?
I know.
They're privileged to information
I know.
for both
Jay,
sides, right?
Jay Perrin and Raul Rosas both Iridium.
Yeah, like that could be something that people could start digging into as well, right? You don't know. You know what I mean? There's so much like speculation that goes into all of this shit, but
Absolutely,
I'm
bro.
glad that something's happening now because they need to fix it. The integrity of the sport, like it could be shattered with
Absolutely.
something big, you know what I mean, like this. So they need to fix this now. There's been gambling what is it? There's been fight fixing type stuff that went on. Never really actually was fight fixing because the dude that was supposed to fix the fight, he won the fight when he
Yeah.
was supposed to lose, right? So it kind of fucked up at the end. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, this
That's
this
happened.
they need to handle with care, right? Because it could destroy a lot of stuff. But
I agree.
it seems like they're UFC, it's in their benefit to control this and to contain it and to
They
make
have.
sure is handled properly. Because if it's not, man, there's big sponsors like DraftKings and like like gambling sponsors all over the world that want to be involved in fighting. You know what I mean? And that could cut off, and that's huge money, right?
Yeah, as
Huge
soon
money.
as there's like it's public corruption, then people are gonna not want to bet, first of all, and then that's gonna lose a lot of viewership. It's gonna become WWE, and
Yeah.
that's not what the UFC has ever been. So if it ever, I mean, like honestly, the everyone that's talking about the Paddy Pimblett Gordon fight, like for the most part, are saying it's rigged. That's a rigged decision. That's a preordained decision that they wanted to happen regardless. Even if Jared Gordon literally would have had to knock him unconscious or put him to sleep for him to get his hand raised, it seemed like because of how much of a marketing cash cow he is. So, these are unfortunate things that you never want to see in the sport like martial arts, mixed martial arts. At the end of the day, it's gone so far away from mixed martial arts that it's all entertainment now. But in order for them to continue to make that money, they have to at least create that illusion that they're doing something to make sure that this is like, there's some integrity left.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is an ongoing story. You know what I mean? We'll continue to talk about it more and more and more and more as it goes on, as more evidence comes out. But man, let's turn to something more positive. You're going to be back to fighting, but not even in MMA. You're going to be in karate combat, which is actually, I think it's going to be fun, man, to see you
Oh yeah.
not worry about takedowns and then just let your striking flow. You know what I mean? I think you've probably been wanting to do this for a long ass time.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like I remember when I first saw their first ever advertisement of it, Karate Combat, was a few years ago. I remember saw it and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I was like, I could see myself fighting in that. It's definitely my style. But yeah, they reached out to me. They made contact with me, and yeah, it just seemed like a cool opportunity to round off the year. I'm not gonna be fully dedicated to just karate combat. I'm still keeping my options open for MMA. But yeah, this is a cool opportunity for sure, and it's a new form of combat. It's like the fastest growing combat league in the world. So it's just kind of cool to be there at ground level, and you got people like GSP, Boss Rudin, commentating the fights, and with the likes of like Raymond Daniels and a guy fighting for the title. There's that viral dude. He's real quick from Sweden. Samuel Eriksson.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he's fighting on it too. So there's definitely some names on there. James Vick fought on the last one. So they're definitely starting to like bring some people in, and I'm excited. I like the concept of what they're doing. The pit looks fucking sick. There's gonna definitely like add a different element to my game. I'm gonna be able to be very creative. I'm gonna definitely be throwing a lot of crazy kicks that I wouldn't necessarily throw in MMA because they'd end up, on my ass and then motherfucker on top. But with the karate combat, it's a 10 seconds on the ground max, and then there's the option to ground and pound, but you can't put a knee on the ground. You have to stay standing. So it's cool. I'm very like excited to give this rule set a chance, like to give it a go and hopefully put on a really fun performance on the 17th next Saturday.
Yeah, I was checking some of the highlights out. It looks like it has a feel to it that no other promotion has. It looks like a video game. Like that's what
Right?
it has, that feel, right? Like it's like everything's, I don't know, it's a trip, right? Like when watching it, it's like, are we watching a
Like
video game or are we watching people really fight?
right? Like you feel like
Yeah,
you're in the future or something. Like because it's in the Universal Studios like back lot, so like the production and everything
yeah.
behind it's like super dope. And they have like different themes every event. Yeah, it just seems like yeah, I like what they're doing.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people who like combat sports are gonna kind of like it as well because you're gonna see a lot of like high octane style techniques with like some pretty savage shit because we can throw knees. Like, I mean, if a dude's lying on a pit wall, you can axe kick him or knee him in the face. Like,
Wow.
so it's like there's gonna be some cool shit that you wouldn't necessarily see in MMA. And yeah, I think I just dig the vibe. Like, I dig the operation. I dig kind of how everything seems to be flowing with them. So obviously, we'll see how things go once I'm out there. I fly out there on Wednesday, out to Orlando. So, but yeah, everything seems to be going pretty good with them. So I'm excited to just go out there and put on a show.
Where are you training for this?
Same, been training a syndicate.
Okay.
I've been training a syndicate, same old. Just not been wrestling. Just been focusing all on my stand up. Just getting back to what I do, what I've always done, and just refining it. Uh, just making sure I've been in shape. I've been constantly in the gym. So once that phone call rang and they told me, karate combat, I was like, all right, like great. I can let my body heal from wrestling. I'm gonna basically just put wrestling on a little bit of a layaway until the end of the year, and then hit the year running again wrestling in 2023. But yeah, like we'll see how this opportunity goes. Go out there and put in a good performance, then maybe we'll be back in camp again for another karate combat fight. I don't know. But I'm just excited to go out and perform and just experience it. Like I said, it's a new experience. Even if I only get to do it one time, it'll just be cool to say that I was a part of it. And this is their biggest card ever. Um, so yeah, I'm just excited. I think I've got a really favorable matchup. I just think I think I got all the tools to go out there and put on a performance that I think the guys running the show will enjoy. So, and the fans.
Yeah, nowadays it's like there's so many options, right? Like back maybe even 5 years ago, it's like if you fought MMA, it's really just focused on MMA. There was no karate combat. There's so many different types of leagues,
For
what I
sure.
mean? Like karate combat and even just like pure striking. And if you're into the grappling, pure grappling. Man, bare knuckles getting huge too, man. I don't, a lot of
Sure.
people don't really care about it too much, but it seems like people like it. I mean, there's people
Yeah.
signed to bare knuckle, but karate combat, man, I enjoy it. I think like the way that they twisted the rules a little bit to make
Mhm.
it more violent friendly, you know what I mean? Like 10 seconds on the ground shit. Like you could finish the fight if you knock somebody down, basically, right?
Yeah.
There's no standing 10 count or whatever.
No.
So yeah, it does bring a different element, and then the pit is cool because like if you like get knocked back down on the pit, you could still attack them
Yeah.
while they're like laying like diagonal. It's a
Yeah,
trip, right? So you could knock them out like with very varying strikes on that pit. It's
for sure.
yeah, man,
And
and
you
it's
can
pretty.
definitely get
How
behind it.
big is the pit?
I
It's
don't know. I'm
pretty.
about to find out. Like,
You
yeah,
are.
I'm about to find out. I've never even sampled it until I get out there. It looks pretty decently sized
Yeah,
on like the videos, but it's always like one way when you see it in video versus when you're there.
yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
Universal Studios as well. Have you been out to Orlando before?
Yeah, like way back. I've never been to like Universal Studios or anything like that. I went
Yeah.
out. What did I? I went for a UFC. That was my first ever
Oh, okay.
UFC. I was who fought? It was a main event, or Nate Diaz fought. Did he fight Michael Johnson? Yeah, he fought Michael Johnson.
Oh yeah, you used to live in Florida. I forgot about that. You used to
Yeah,
live
I
in
was,
Florida. Yeah.
yeah, in Boca when I was training with the Black Stallions.
Man, what do you think about Anthony Johnson, man? Fuck.
Oh, yeah, that
That was
sucked.
shocking, right?
Yeah, I heard some stuff that he had some like health concerns and stuff, but I didn't think it was like that. But yeah, super sad. Super. One of my favorite fighters. Super nice guy. I interacted with him a few times. Couldn't say like, oh, that was my buddy or anything like that,
Mm.
but he was nice and like, he said nice things and say what's up. But I always was such a big fan of him as a fighter. And then obviously like being able to train on the same mat as him and just see him as a person day in, day out. He's just a good guy. Just, really positive dude, happy guy, always showing love. And yeah, it's just sad. It sucks. Super young, too early.
Yeah,
But
very young.
it's cool. It's cool to see how much like outpouring and love that he's getting as well, which just goes to show you like how not small, but like how close the community is, which is
Mm.
cool. The anime community. But yeah, definitely a big loss. Fucking love. I loved watching him fight. Such a beast.
Yeah, he was great. He was great at what he did. Always brought like the danger factor to every fight. That's what people loved about him.
One punch. Yeah,
Yeah.
KO.
So after the karate combat, you could go back, but you're looking at MMA as well,
Yeah,
maybe
I'm just
next
keeping
year.
my options open. Yeah. Not sure. Like I got nothing like lined up or anything like that, but I just don't want to like make myself exclusive just yet. I mean, we'll see. I'll have some conversations with them if there's something that we can work out that works out for me. Then I could maybe do that. But I don't want to tie myself into something and then prevent myself from fighting MMA. If an opportunity comes, if there's ever something short notice, or if somebody needs something, step in. There's always that opportunity. So I want to keep that open. I'm not completely shutting the door on MMA. I still believe I can do some stuff there. But again, I'm also open to a career in karate combat as well. So just got to kind of wait and see how these options play out. Let's go. I want to go meet the boss. I want to see him face to face and yeah, see what he has in mind for me. And again, I want to. It's kind of like I consider this fight kind of a job application.
Yeah.
It's a resume builder. So if I go out there and put on a good credential for them that they like to see, then I have a good positive feeling that they'll want to make sure that I stick around. So usually, if that's the case and they make it worth my while, then yeah, I'll maybe stick with them. But at the end of the day, I'm at this point now where I want to make good money and I want to compete at a high level. So if I can fit both of those into one, because fighting karate combat will shit on everything regionally, outside of the big 3 or 4
Yeah.
leagues. So it's a no-brainer for me to take this opportunity. But again, if one of those big leagues come with a good offer, then that's always something that I'm interested in as well.
Yeah, man. There's so many options now, man. Just with PFL and them doing seasons and
Yeah,
Bellator, they're always putting on shows. You got
for sure.
Ryzen, you got one championship.
I would
Imagine
love,
like
I would
going to
love
one
to
championship and doing super series. Like I know you would be down for that.
get out to Ryzen. I would love to fight in
Yeah.
Japan or do something like that. That would be pretty fucking sick. Um, yeah, I mean, one championship for sure, but they don't like me for some reason. I had a chance with one championship back in the day, but I got a naughty mark on my record, and they don't like that. So, and plus,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm from Hong Kong, so I'm a minority. They don't want to fuck with China. So yeah, I just get treated. You know, a cool thing about karate combat is they're like, yo, we're gonna fucking rep Hong Kong. Like fuck all that. You know, which I appreciate. You know, they're Team Hong Kong, which is cool. You know, so
Yeah.
I can fucks with that. But yeah, again, like that's another thing. Like it's as stupid as it sounds. Like that's actually a factor. Like that is actually a thing. Like because of where I'm from, like that is actually a problem. Like it's just ridiculous. But you know, unless I bow down and start flying the Chinese flag, otherwise I'm a problem.
You
For them.
you and D-Rod have a show. Like what's the YouTube channel called?
It's the shit. I'm thinking of the wrong name. It's fuck. That's so embarrassing, dude. Shit, dude. Wait, just look at my phone.
It's something culture, right?
Culture Crooks podcast. Fuck.
Yes, Culture Crooks podcast.
Yeah.
So someone was asking in the comments, like, you know, what was
Yes.
the
Culture
if you have
Crooks
a
podcast.
YouTuber,
Yes.
yeah.
Before we were Up and Comers podcast, and then we changed it to Culture Crooks. So yeah, we're the Culture Crooks podcast. Yeah, yes, you brought that up. That is our show. Our most recent episode we did when we were in New York after UFC was at 281.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did an episode out in New York, and then we are supposed to have an episode scheduled this week, but yeah, D-Rod's not the most reliable. So maybe early this coming week before I head out for Karate Combat, because I was hoping to do a show episode to announce, talk about Karate Combat, but this will do that too. But yeah, like I said, he's busy. He got all kinds of shit going on, and he's out in LA. So he was here. We were in town for like a day. I saw him, and then he just kind of like disappeared. So yeah, I'll figure it out. He said he'll be back in town Monday, so we'll probably bust out an episode. So yeah, please like, share, subscribe, check it out, comment on the Culture Crooks podcast. We're trying to grow our channel a little bit, and yeah, it's just a good way to like stay in touch, especially with D-Rod, because nobody knows what the fuck D-Rod is doing. So when you can eventually get an episode in with him, he's gonna pretty much say what he's been up to, and yeah, likewise with me. And then, yeah, hopefully in the new year, we're going to be trying to get out on the road more and do more stuff on the road with the podcast. But yeah, we're waiting to see how things unfold in the new year, waiting for him to get fight news. Obviously, my thing with Karate Combat, see what happens with that. And then, yeah, go from there.
Culture Crooks podcast. Go download, go subscribe, go like it, go watch it. That's what you need to do. Everybody, appreciate you guys for joining us. We'll be back next week. Most likely on Sunday night, which is Monday morning in Asia and Australia and New Zealand. Sasha, appreciate you, man, for joining us. And yeah, make sure you guys go download the AllStar app. We got some new features on there. Go play with it. Peace.
Peace.